kicked out of the hospital in active labor for being black, and her husband having to deliver their baby on the side of the road. This happened in Crown Point, Indiana, where Mercedes Wells arrived in clear distress after hours of strong contractions.
This is proof that this happens more often than you think. Mercedes Wells went to the hospital because she was in active labor. She was told that because she was only 3 centimeters in dilation, come back later. Mind you, when I gave birth, I was in the hospital for 22 hours because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to monitor a woman while she's in active labor. You're supposed to monitor the baby. You're not supposed to turn her away. This woman gave birth in her car minutes later, 8 minutes to be exact, and had to drive 30 minutes to another hospital so she could get proper medical care. This happened at Crown Point Hospital in Indiana. Baby was 2 weeks early. But since when are babies being born at the due date? Babies are late and babies are early. But you're going to tell this woman, come back later, you're not ready to give birth? Are you serious? Her mother posted this video on social media and has gone viral.
Hi guys, you're welcome back to Tiana's React. I'm Tiana, and if this is the first time joining us, you are really welcome. And a huge shout out to all our loyal subscribers riding with us. Now, let's get it real. Mercedes Wells, a black woman in active labor in Indiana, was forced out of the hospital. Can you imagine that, guys? Contractions, pain, water breaking, and they sent her away. Everything could have gone wrong. No medical staff, no tools, and no trained hands. But here is the twist. Her husband, who has no medical knowledge, stayed calm, stood strong, and delivered the baby like a true hero. The risks were massive, the danger was real, and this could have ended tragically. Thanks to his courage, both mother and baby survived. Well, let's get into the video, guys.
My daughter's in active labor, and this is a Franciscan Crown Point being put out in active labor. So we gotta transfer her to a different hospital while she's in labor, in pain. Unjust.
Crown Point Hospital, you want to be famous for turning away an African-American mother in active labor? What in the world is going on with these medical facilities? This is why our ancestors have always been hesitant to go to the hospitals, because they are showing their complete a-hole. This is why people of color do not like going to the hospital, because medical discrimination is sadly still with us. I have been medically discriminated against when I had a stroke. Like, I don't understand. It is absolutely ridiculous that people of color have to second guess if they are going to go to a medical facility, because they don't know if they're going to be assisted. They don't know if they're going to be discriminated against. They don't know if they're going to get the bare minimum care, no matter if you have insurance or don't have insurance, because sometimes they just say, oh, it's nothing, just for the bill to go up. But no, this is absolutely unacceptable. You're supposed to be in the medical field. You're supposed to be someone of care. You're supposed to be someone that brings comfort. But this is absolutely ridiculous that this is the second woman of color that has had to be wheeled out of a hospital or felt like they were less than, where they are trying to give life to a person.
Disturbing viral video is prompting major changes tonight at Franciscan Health Crown Point Hospital. A doctor and nurse who discharged a mother while she was in active labor are no longer employed at the hospital. The Wells family says the nurse was only in the unit a few months and they never saw the doctor.
I'm glad they made those moves to, move forward in, disciplining, the women that was involved. However, we're not done. I mean, this is an issue that's worldwide. So it's a lot to be done.
It's sad that we had to go through this. A lot could have happened. Like I said, I have prior training. I don't know what I was doing. By God's grace, He gave me the ability to deliver my baby safely and get there safely and not freak out.
Mercedes and Leon Wells were on a work trip because he didn't want to leave his pregnant wife behind. Now, on the way back, the mom-to-be started having contractions and called up the hospital to let them know she was on the way. The viral video shows Mercedes Wells breathless and in active labor. She says her water actually broke. The contractions were a minute apart. Despite her obvious pain, she was still discharged from the hospital and never saw a doctor. Just 8 minutes after leaving that hospital, Leon Wells delivered the couple's baby on the side of the highway in the family's pickup truck. The baby is doing okay tonight, but the couple says their birth experience was shattered by what they are calling negligence. Their attorney says a public apology is now owed to the family.
They should make a public apology, unequivocal in nature, saying we apologize that this happened. We know it was wrong. 2, they should have the administrators of the hospital, the people who make policy and then put policy into place, meet with the family. And then 3, we should talk about what sorts of remedies need to be put in place for this family.
I haven't had a conversation with anyone from the hospital.
The CEO and President Raymond Grady acknowledged that staff did not listen to Mrs. Wells. The statement goes on to say this: "We must fix what failed in our hospital so that no one experiences what happened to Mercedes Wells. After careful review of the care provided to Mrs. Wells, I have taken the following actions. First, the physician and the nurse directly involved with Mrs. Wells' care are no longer employed by Franciscan. Secondly, I have mandated cultural competency training for all labor and delivery staff. And lastly, all pregnant patients leaving the labor and delivery unit will be examined by a physician before they leave the hospital." Now, that statement goes on to say that they've actually reached out to the Wells family to apologize, and they hope to meet the family in person soon. But the Wells family says no one has reached out to them so far.
All right, here's an update. The hospital in Indiana has terminated the doctor and nurse who was part of the care of the woman. I believe her name is Mercedes. She was discharged because her cervix was unchanged, but 8 minutes later, she delivered in her husband's truck. Okay, not only did they terminate the doctor and nurse, they also issued a mandated cultural competency training. All right, if you look at my previous videos, you'll see that I suggested that. And also they developed a new protocol. And so as a former labor and delivery nurse, I am curious to what their protocol looks like, right? And if it's something that can be adapted or adopted at other facilities across the nation, so this would not happen again to any woman, no matter their race or background, okay? So it's a step. We're moving in the right direction. I'm pretty sure, because this was viral. And I can now see my peers, my colleagues at the other labor delivery units across the nation, like, oh my God, how did this happen? What can we do to avoid this happening to, the patients that come into their care? But honestly, like I said previously, it's going to take more than just doing a competency training. The person, whether doctor or nurse, any staff, have to remove those biases, racism from within, and learn how to listen to their patient no matter the color of their skin. So yeah, we're moving in the right direction, but we still have a lot of work to do because deconstructing medical racism is going to take some time.
What happened to Mercedes Wells in Crown Point, Indiana should never happen to any family. Yet it's the exact nightmare that too many black mothers face in America on a daily basis. It was Texas last week, it's Indiana this week, and where will it be next week? Mercedes Wells was driven to Franciscan Health Crown Point by her husband Leon Wells. She arrived in obvious intense labor. She told staff her contractions were close together and that her pain was escalating. Instead of being monitored, admitted, or even seen by a doctor, Mercedes was allegedly told by a nurse she wasn't far enough along and she was sent home in active labor. 8 minutes. That's how long it took her condition to escalate after being discharged. Just 8 minutes down the road, Mercedes' body went into full delivery, and her husband Leon was forced to pull over and deliver their baby on the side of the highway. A birth that should have happened safely in a hospital happened on the side of the road in a car because professionals ignored her. A laboring mother in pain wasn't believed. A black woman wasn't taken seriously again. Now Mercedes and Leon are speaking out. This was not just negligence, it was discrimination, and the Wells family believes that race played a role in why Mercedes was turned away. Sadly, their story mirrors a terrifying national pattern that black mothers know all too well. Hospital officials called the incident deeply troubling and say they are conducting an internal investigation. But that does nothing to erase the trauma that this family endured or the risks that they were forced to take. Thankfully, both Mercedes and the baby survived, but they shouldn't have to survive anything. This should have been a safe delivery, not a roadside emergency. This should have been a joyous event. This should have been a monitored labor, not viral headlines. This should have been standard care, not another example of a system failing black women. America's maternal health crisis isn't a statistic. It's Mercedes, it's Leon, it's their newborn child who entered the world in a car because the hospital didn't listen. All mothers deserve to be heard. They deserve to be believed.
Another woman in active labor being escorted out of a hospital. Moments later, she would give birth. Take a look.
And this is a Franciscan Crown Point being put out in active labor. So we gotta transfer her to a different hospital.
At Franciscan Health in Indiana. I don't understand what's going on here. For some reason, they discharged her, and I'm very curious to know that reason. So hopefully, we'll have answers from that hospital.
Okay, this is Mercedes Cherie Wells, who was at a hospital in Indiana and is being discharged home because the nurse said she was not in active labor. Now, as you can tell, she's in a lot of pain. Apparently at this time, when they decided to discharge her, she was 3 centimeters. That's her husband, Leon Wells, taking her out to the car. And this is what happened in the car 8 to 12 minutes later after they were discharged. Now, I went to the original Facebook post that Leon put out and has since been shared. And this is the story that I've kind of put together. She goes in, contracting. She stayed 3 centimeters for 5 hours. She even walked the hallways, did all the things we do. I'm assuming she's term. 37 plus weeks, didn't make any cervical change per the nurse who examined her. When she was told she was going to go home because of no cervical change, she asked, and she says in her post, she even begged to stay. And she was told doctor's orders to be discharged. And she's had a baby before. So here's the deal. In my expert opinion, for what it's worth, either she wasn't really 3 centimeters and the nurse got it wrong, which can happen, or she really was 3 centimeters and she went from 3 to complete and a baby out in the car in less than 15 minutes from the time she was discharged until she had the baby. That can also happen. But either way, if you have a patient who is term and is hurting that much, I don't care if they stay 3 centimeters, because that could change like that, which it did in her case. I have admitted patients 23-hour OBS or even longer than that, much longer than 5 hours, because I don't want that exact scenario to happen. These scenarios can happen to anyone who has a fetus in the uterus, regardless of their skin tone. But study after study after study has proven that there is a disparity between how black birthing people are treated in this country when compared to their white counterparts, and that includes ignoring pain and being dismissed and being profiled in the documentation. And black birthing people have higher rates of both maternal and neonatal morbidity and mortality when compared to their white counterparts. The patient in Dallas and the patient in Indiana wanted to give birth in a hospital, or they wouldn't have been there. And look at how they were treated. No one should be treated like this when they're pregnant or birthing. But when it comes to black birthing people in this country, every one of those videos just reinforces to them that this is what's going to happen. The racial biases that are deeply rooted in obstetrical care are getting no better in 2025.
So guys, hospitals failed. The system almost let a mother and a baby down, but her husband stood like a man in the face of disaster. No training, no tools, just courage. This story shows how everything that could go wrong almost did, and is a wake-up call for every hospital and every leader. Remember, in all this, life should come first, no matter the race. Well, if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. I really appreciate, and I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And please, if you've not liked, please do well to like, share, and of course, subscribe to keep the channel moving. Till next time.